A property tax cap into law. It was a victory for Senate Republicans as well as for Cuomo. The Republicans, who retook the majority last year, were able to exert a lot of influence over the past few months, and part of that came from being on the same side as the governor on fiscal matters like the budget and the tax cap. However, things got really interesting when the Republicans were actually at odds with the governor and also the Assembly Democrats over social issues like same-sex marriage and rent regulations. Joining me now for a look back on a very busy legislative session and a little bit of looking forward is Senate Majority Leader Dean Skelos. Senator, it is good to see you joining us from Hofstra. How are you?
Thanks, Liz. And I know this is going to be a very interesting program.
Oh, I am. You are not hosting, but I am looking forward to it. Okay, so let's start off with the tax cap. Obviously, you were there. Actually, the governor had already signed it into law. This was ceremonial, but nevertheless, a big victory for you, and it happened, this event, right in your own backyard.
Well, it happened in Lynbrook, which is in my Senate district on Long Island, and it's a hard-working, middle-income community, and the Gannon family that we met with, 4 kids, and they pay close to $12,000 a year in taxes. The property is probably at the most 50 by 100, and they're struggling to make ends meet, to pay the taxes, to be able to enjoy life, and to help their kids go through college.
Now, you know, Senator, what was interesting is, of course, that this cap was part of what we liked to call the big ugly, that also included rent regulations and mandate relief. You and I had some discussions about that. I talked to many members of your conference. It held up the whole process for a while. Many people are saying that the mandate relief doesn't go far enough to offset the impact that the tax cap will have on municipal governments and school districts. Are you concerned about that, and why did you not push harder for more substantive relief?
Well, we were able to obtain about $130 million in mandate relief. The Senate originally proposed a package of about $250 million.
Right, that's a lot more.
Yeah, well, the Assembly Democrats came back with $30 million, and we came to the point where the governor said, let's split the difference, let's get there. We did. And then what is significant in this, Liz, is that the Mandate Relief Commission that has been established, that will be appointed by the governor and the legislative leaders, this commission will be able to eliminate regulations that are overly burdensome and unnecessary on school districts, the state, and other municipalities. Plus, the commission will be able to recommend statutory changes of legislation that may be outdated, unnecessarily, or overburdensome for the legislature to remove, almost like the Burgett Commission that concerned hospitals.
Sure,
so I think these are very positive.
Sure, but Senator, will that happen fast enough for municipal governments and school districts that are going to be impacted by this cap to be able to get out from underneath it, if you will, from those mandates, those onerous state mandates, and not go broke?
No, I don't think they're going to be able to go broke. Number one, as the governor has pointed out, there's hundreds of millions of reserves that school districts have squirreled away, many times the public not knowing about it, that they'll be able to use if necessary. But really what the property tax cap is, it's about discipline at the local level, school districts in particular, in terms of spending, and bringing all levels of government under the spending restraints that are necessary. We did it on the state this year. As you know, we eliminated a $10 billion deficit without raising taxes or fees, and certainly the services and the ability of the state to provide services has not come to a grinding halt. So all levels of government have to understand that people cannot afford taxes and spending that's been going on in this state for too long.
So, Senator, leaving aside the issue of same-sex marriage for a minute, and which we will get to, but in terms of the big ugly, at least, the Senate Republicans did quite well. I mean, you have some allies in among the landlords down in New York City. They are big donors to your conference, and they didn't do too terribly, and the tenant advocates feel like they kind of got a raw deal. So do you feel like the Assembly Democrats got a little rolled on this, and if so, how did you do that?
Well, I don't know if they really, got rolled, but certainly the legislation that they passed in the Assembly, that a person earning $300,000 a year and paying $3,000 a year in rent should basically be entitled to a subsidy for that rent is unconscionable. We've protected, many of the individuals that need protection are at the lower income level, in the $35,000 and $40,000 level, that are paying $800 and $900 a year in rent. They are being protected. But a person living in the west side or east side of Manhattan making $300,000 a year, they don't need those protections. And certainly, it's equivalent to many of the upstate communities where a person is trying to pay their mortgage and taxes and the family's making $60,000, $70,000 a year. Nobody's rushing in to protect them and the costs that they have inherent with their living.
Okay, so you did quite well on the fiscal side of things, the on-time budget, of course, and then subsequently ethics reform, not fiscal, but a big issue for Andrew Cuomo. Then comes the gay marriage bill. Are you still feeling the heat on that? Obviously, you see that the National Organization for Marriage says it will spend $10 million to try and oust the senators who flipped from no to yes, which includes, of course, 4 of your members. Are you concerned about them?
No, you know what, I'm not. First of all, Liz, I think what's important about that vote is that people, and really this entire session, you've been a student of Albany politics for a while, and Albany has not been functioning in the past. And really working with the governor and the speaker, we're making government function once again by having an on-time budget, by not raising taxes, by accomplishing many of the goals that we had for years that are now in statute. And the issue of gay marriage, I indicated before I became majority leader,
I remember.
and I said it to you on a number of occasions, that this is a vote of conscience and there should be a vote on it. And that's what occurred. And members were allowed to cast their vote as they wished, not just by the dictate of a political leader. That's wrong. People should vote their conscience when they're elected.
That night was very confusing, and obviously the end of a very long week and a half, during which you had many marathon closed-door sessions while you tried to wrestle with whether or not the bill would actually get to the floor. And you had a couple of Democrats who stormed out of the room. I'm just curious, what happened there, and did you threaten to pull the bill because it was so complicated?
No. What happened is there was an agreement amongst the legislative leaders that it was time to get the vote done on the bill. Everybody agreed that there would be just several speakers that would speak, and certainly people could go on afterwards and put out their press releases, talk to their local media, and all of a sudden there were 10, 12 people that hopped up and insisted that they have to speak. And that was the agreement that we enacted. We agreed to with the governor and Senator Sampson. And it took a couple of minutes, but we straightened out the misunderstanding that existed with some of the other members.
So you didn't threaten to pull the bill off the floor then?
No.
You didn't?
No, that bill was going to come to a vote, and it was on the floor. It was being discussed in a very orderly fashion. And I think even the people that were in the gallery on both sides, they knew the issue, and all they wanted to do was get the vote and get it over with.
At the end of the day, though, when your conference finally did vote, only 4 of your members voted yes. So clearly the majority of them didn't want this to pass. When you made the decision to put it out onto the floor, was the decision one where you thought, this is a political hot potato and I don't want to deal with it in an election year, so best to get rid of it now?
No, again, Liz, I just go back to what I said a year ago, and I kept my commitment that subject to the consensus of the conference, that this would come out for a vote. It was not an issue that was going to go away, and that it was an appropriate thing to do. And I think people in my own district, there are some people that are disappointed that it did come out for a vote, but I've received compliments on both sides of the issue, that I kept my word, that it came out for a vote, and that's the way our government's supposed to function. They're not supposed to function and hide behind a leader And I'm not supposed to tell people how to vote. I know maybe that's the history of legislative leaders in Albany, but I'm going to change that.
Okay, well, I just want to talk going forward a little bit because, you know, obviously 6 months was a whirlwind and a lot got done. It was an unusually productive session, but really there are some other sticky things that are breaking just today, actually. We are not going on vacation. We see just today that there's a report that the Cuomo administration is actually rejecting and saying is premature, but that the administration may lift the ban on hydrofracking. There was at one point passed by your House a moratorium, a complete ban on hydrofracking. Are you a hydrofracking supporter?
No, I'm a supporter of it as long as it can be done in a safe way, and I have confidence in the DEC that they will come out with recommendations that indicate whether it's safe or not safe. But certainly if it can be done in a safe way, I support it. The southern tier of the state for economic development and jobs, this is huge. They've been lagging behind all other parts of the state. A wonderful area to live, but they need jobs. And also, if we think about the energy supply that's there, I mean, there's enough gas there to take care of, I think, New York State for generations to come. So we should not be running away from this natural resource. We should be looking to use it and harness it in a safe and effective way. And I believe Department of DEC, and certainly under the direction of Governor Cuomo, they'll make the right decision. And if it is to go forward, they're going to feel confident that it's in a environmentally friendly way. And
you feel confident that despite the cuts that DEC has sustained, that the agency will be able to oversee the drilling process and ensure that it is in fact being done in a safe manner?
Yes, I do.
So you don't believe that the agency actually is going to need to be bolstered in terms from a financial point of view?
I think it's important from a financial point of view. I don't think there are any more votes that are necessary out of the legislature. I think when the moratorium was passed a year ago under Democrat control, maybe that was appropriate at the time, but now it's the time to move forward. If they say it's safe and that we can get the gas out of the ground in a safe way, let's start doing it.
And then another issue that's breaking today that's, of course, very important to your members of your conference from upstate. We've got the prison closure list. There are 7 prisons on there. Did the governor confer with you and your conference as he said that he would? Because during the budget process, you actually gave up the right of refusal, if you will, a commission that the Senate was going to participate in. Did you get to weigh in on this?
You know, we did get to weigh in it, certainly through the leadership of Senator Nizzolio. We did weigh in on it. I think the governor understood, and again, Liz, this is important, he listened, the importance of jobs and how prisons, you know, in the downstate area, we may not understand how important they are in certain communities, but in many of the upstate community, they are the major job creators and economy of those areas, and we should not be looking at a way of just destroying those economies. And I believe what the governor has done, and this is what we discussed with him, if there's a way to do it efficiently in such a way not to hurt the economy of certain areas, and it can be done, then the state can enact savings and not hurt those economies. So
you support the closure of these 7 prisons that the governor is calling for today?
Well, I support the idea that there had to be prison closures, and I think even our conference understood that there would be certain closures. And that it would be done in a rational way. And I think that's what will satisfy the members of our conference, that it was done in a rational way.
Well, it's been a remarkable year so far, and it's not even over yet. Are we going to be seeing more of this sort of harmonious relationship between the Senate Republicans and the governor going forward, or are you guys going to diverge again?
I hope so. Today at the property tax cap signing, you know, we were kidding each other, you know, what do we do next year? And I said, very simple, we have to, what do we do for an encore? And very simple, we both agreed that it has to be about cutting taxes. We still have a way, I believe we have about a $2 billion deficit that we're facing next year. We can handle that without raising taxes. And we have to now be focused totally on jobs, 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 and that's what we're going to be doing.
And in closing then, Senator, do you believe that the governor actually should run for president?
Well, let me just say this. When you look at 2016, I'm a Republican, If I were a Democrat, I would take note as to the way our government functioned this year and the leadership that he provided. So as a Democrat, they should take note of his leadership here in New York State.
Yeah, but as a Republican, not so much.
It's too long away. Even the governor said it's too early to start discussing this.
I like to mix it up, Senator. I don't know what to tell you.
I know you do, and you do a good job at that, Liz.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. It's good to see you. Then have a good weekend.
Good to see you. Thank you. You too.